Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs, located in the heart of the walkable Tarpon Springs Historic District and known as the home of the Innes paintings. We are a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. I'm Reverend Kristina Spaude, minister here of UUCTS. I'm glad you are here. I hope that you find meaning in today's service. Please consider joining us on a Sunday morning when we gather to worship as a community every week beginning at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom, or drop in for a more personal visit to one of our coffee hours starting at 11:30 on Sundays on Zoom. Please refer to our website for information about how to connect with us on Zoom. Our service associate will now begin today's service. Let us enter this sacred time with open minds and open hearts.
Hello, and welcome to our virtual service today. My name is Barbara Rosen, and would like to begin with the words by Chip Rush. Be here in this moment. We're about to enter sacred time. We're about to make this time and this place sacred by our presence and intention. Please turn off or silence your phones. And as you do so, I invite also to turn down the volume on our fears, to remove our masks, and to loosen the armor around our hearts. Don't take my word for it. Do it as slowly as you need to. If you take a little risk with these good people, you may find that they have the same human needs as you do. Breathe. Let go of the expectations placed on you by others and those they taught you to place on yourself. Drop the guilt and shame, not to shirk accountability, but in honest expectation of the possibility of forgiveness. Let go of the thing you said the other day. Let go of the thing you dread next week. Be here in this moment. Breathe here. Thank you to all who have worked to bring you this service. Our speaker today is Reverend Kristina Spaude, and we look forward to listening to her words, The Violence of Stairs. And thank you to Bonnie Whitehurst, our musical director, for the exceptional music she brings to this service. May we begin our service with a child's lighting of Out of the Flames by Sarah Eileen Lawal. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise.
Greatest gift of all the riches on this
story today is called All the Way to the Top: How One Girl's Fight for Americans with Disabilities Changed Everything. It was written by Annette Bay Pimentel, and pictures are by Nabi H. Ali. This is the story of Jennifer Keelan Chaffins. Jennifer Keelan may be small, but her voice is mighty. Yee-haw! Snowball responds, speeding up from a walk to a trot. Jennifer loves to go fast. But she knows she'll soon have less time for riding since she's finally old enough for school. She can't wait to make new friends. She's ready to go. The school's not far. Jennifer rolls outside, down the sidewalk, to the corner. But stop! A 4-inch curb is a cliff to someone who uses a wheelchair. Her grandpa eases her wheelchair over the curb. Though the drop jolts Jennifer, she makes it to the building. But stop! The school says Jennifer doesn't belong there because she uses a wheelchair. Instead, Jennifer and her mom find a different school that says she can attend kindergarten, but only for one part of the afternoon, when lunch is over. As Jennifer rolls in each day, everyone is already busy. She has to figure out what's going on and how to join in. Since most kids have never met someone who uses a wheelchair, her classmates are confused and even a little afraid. "You'll never be one of us," some of them say. Jennifer knows they're wrong. She's just a friend waiting to happen. But how do you change someone's mind? She's not sure, but she's not about to give up. Jennifer and her family hear about activists who are working to make sure people with disabilities have access to public places like schools. They want to know more, so they attend a strategy meeting. Jennifer has never seen so many people like this. The room is full of grown-ups with all sorts of disabilities. Some use wheelchairs. Some use canes. None of them are sitting around waiting for things to change. They're shouting, laughing, and planning a big protest to get wheelchair lifts on buses. They turn to Jennifer. "Do you want to come?" Yes, she wants to go. Downtown, Jennifer rolls to the microphone and tells her story. She leads marchers through the streets, chanting, "The people united will never be defeated." It feels good to speak up for what she believes in. She can't wait to do it again. She's raring to go. She protests in Phoenix, rolls through streets in San Francisco, waves signs in Montreal. The demonstrations don't always change people's minds, but Jennifer is used to that. Even when her neighborhood school finally agrees she can attend, she and her classmates with disabilities aren't allowed to eat in the cafeteria with everyone else. It hurts, but she keeps going. Working with other activists revs her up, yet she can't help noticing that she and her sister are usually the only kids out there raising their voices. Still, she can't leave all the protesting to grown-ups. She knows firsthand that children with disabilities get ignored too, so she keeps speaking up. When Jennifer is 8, activists propose a new law called the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. The law insists schools, governments, and businesses make room for all people, including those with disabilities. Jennifer feels like dancing. If it passes, it means sidewalks with curb cuts, buildings with ramps in addition to steps, and elevators with braille panels. It means Jennifer and her classmates with disabilities can finally go to the cafeteria with everyone else for lunch. Jennifer and her family watch the news for updates on the ADA, but reporters never mention it. She switches off the TV in frustration, wishing she could change reporters' minds on what's worth talking about. Instead, the Keelans get their updates about the ADA when activist friends call. It's bad news. Members of Congress say the law will be too complicated and too expensive. They say it's just not worth it. Since the news station is ignoring people with disabilities, Jennifer and her friends are determined to find another way to make Congress hear their voices. It's go time. Her family buys plane tickets to Washington, D.C. As they march down Pennsylvania Avenue, Jennifer has never shouted louder. What do we want? The ADA. When do we want it? Now. Finally, they reach the U.S. Capitol. But stop. A mountain of steps blocks Jennifer and other people using wheelchairs from the building where Congress makes laws. Grown-ups slide out of their wheelchairs and start pulling themselves up the steps. They will make sure members of Congress know they are here. Jennifer's heart races. This is what she has been shouting about. I want to climb the steps, she says. But stop. The grown-ups think she's too young. You can't do it. Jennifer knows this is not just about her. It's about her friends at school who were shut out of the cafeteria at lunch. It's about millions of other kids she's never met who get stopped at every turn. Jennifer wants to speak up for all the kids with disabilities who aren't there. I need to climb these steps. She slides out of her wheelchair, scoots across the sidewalk to the bottom of the stairway, and puts her hands on the first step. She hauls herself up. Tiny bits of dirt and rock dig into her skin. She drags herself up another step. The crowd roars. Reporters surround her with cameras and microphones, recording her gutsy climb. I'll take all night if I have to, she vows, and she keeps heaving, hauling, dragging herself up those steps. She keeps going all the way to the top. Pictures of Jennifer climbing the steps flash around the world. Reporters start talking about the ADA. Members of Congress see the news, listen to the activists, and finally pass the ADA. Laws like the ADA don't change things overnight. Entrances have to be rebuilt, sidewalks redesigned, buses re-engineered. Slowest of all, minds have to change. So Jennifer will continue shouting and waving signs, organizing and explaining. She will continue fighting for what she knows is right. Jennifer has places to go, and nothing will stop her now. Mary Jo got
was put on fries. She was making them for years. This was her specialty. Mary's special, very special. When you're making fries, you see a lot of people. You get to be up front by the counter. You get to talk to customers. You get to know their names. Mary Jo delighted in her job. The new manager they got, someone younger, didn't think this person understood that Mary Jo was just a little different, but as good as any worker this place had ever had. One day the boss told Mary Jo, make a happy meal, send her to the back part of the store. This person also used the word retarded. Meals weren't so happy anymore. Mary Jo said, all I really want is to be treated just like everybody else. Consider my abilities. I'm competent, I work hard, and I help. Carol is another special person, compassionate and friendly, creative, fun and kind, but she never liked a single day of school. Kids made fun of her and they taunted her. As she grew up, she felt it was important to make a difference for people just like her. So Carol told her story to a singer, so he could sing her story to the world. Carol says that all I really want is to be treated like everybody else. Consider my abilities. I'm competent, I work hard, and I help. Mary Jo and Carol are good friends. They do things together, just like you and me. So if you ever see someone that's making fun of people like them, think who has the disability.
Our reading today comes from the late Laura Hershey. This piece is called Translating the Crip. Can I translate myself to you? Do I need to? Do I want to? When I say crip, I mean flesh-proof power, flash mob sticks and wheels in busy intersections, model mock. When I say disability, I mean all the brilliant ways we get through the planned fractures of the world. When I say living in America today, I mean thriving and unwelcome, the irony of the only possible time and place. When I say cure, I mean erase. I mean eradicate the miracle of error. When I say safe, I mean no pill, no certified agency, no danger to myself, court order, no supervisory setting, no nurse can protect or defend or save me if you deny me power. When I say public transportation, I mean we all pay, we all ride, we all wait, as long as necessary. When I say basic rights, I mean difficult curries, a fancy knotted scarf, a vegetable garden. I mean picking up my friend from the airport. I mean 2 blocks or a continent with switches or sensors or lightweight titanium, well maintained and fully funded. I mean shut up about charity, the GDP, pulling my own weight and measuring my carbon footprint. I mean only embrace guaranteed can deliver real equality. When I say high quality personal assistance services, I mean her sure hands earning honorably and me eating and shitting without anyone's permission. When I say non-disabled, I mean all your precious tricks. When I say non-disabled privilege, I mean members-only thought processes and the violence of stairs. By dancing, I mean, of course, dancing. We dance without coordination or hearing because music wells through walls. You're invited, but don't do us any favors. When I say sexy, I mean our beautiful crip bodies, broken or bent and whole. I mean drooling from habit and lust. I mean slow, slow. When I say family, I mean all the ways we need each other, beyond your hardening itch and paternal property rights, our encumbering love and ripping losses. I mean, everything ripples. When I say normal, I don't really mean anything. When I say sunset, rich cheese, promise, breeze, or iambic pentameter, I mean exactly the same things you mean. Or when I say sunset, I mean swirling orange nightmare. When I say rich cheese, I mean the best food I can still eat, or else I mean poverty and cholesterol. When I say promise, I mean my survival depends on crossed digits. When I say breeze, I mean finally requited desire. When I say iambic pentameter, I mean my own heart's own nameless rhythm. When I say tell the truth, I mean complicate, cry when it's no longer funny. When I say crip solidarity, I mean the grad school exam and the invisible man. I mean signed executive meetings, fighting for every SSI cent. When I say challenges to crip solidarity, I mean the colors missing from the grant applications, the songs absent from laws. I mean that for all my complaints and victories, I am still sometimes more white than crip. When I say anything, I know the risk. You will accuse me of courage. I know your language all too well, steeped in its syntax of overcoming adversity and limited resources. When I say courage, I mean you sitting next to me, talking, both of us refusing to compare or hate ourselves. When I say ally, I mean I'll get back to you, and you better be there.
Do you see me as the person that I am? Do you see me as an equal, free of labels, names, and signs? I'm living well and whole here in my time. Did you know that human difference is the way we're meant to be? But only when we know that are we whole. For our differences make us stronger, each with our abilities, and together we can rise one family whole. They say don't judge a book just by its cover. How can we do less by sisters and brothers? For we are truly equal, one people just the same. Let's love each other as we are living on this plane. It's true here in me and there in you. Just behind it we can see what we can do. Together we can truly be known for our abilities, living, loving, laughing, being free. Now we share this tiny planet, home of one great family, though different as the fishes in the sea. But blinded by appearance, we disable those we see, and we handicap our own humanity. They say don't judge a book just by its cover. How can we do less by sisters and brothers when we are truly equal, one people just the same? Let's love each other as we are living on this plane. Then we will once be whole again.
The June Give the Plate is for Planned Parenthood. The Planned Parenthood Action Fund works to advance access to sexual health care and defend reproductive rights. It has come to our attention that the Supreme Court just announced it will hear a case that directly challenges Roe versus Wade. The anti-choice supermajority on the court now has the ability to overturn Roe versus Wade. Flying in the face of nearly 50 years of precedent, this case could demolish the right to abortion for millions and set the stage for states across the country to ban abortion. During the month of June, you may mail a check to 57 Reed Street, Tarpon Springs, indicating on the memo line, Planned Parenthood. Or you can donate online at www.uutarpon.org by selecting Give the Plate and indicate Planned Parenthood in the comment. Donations for this organization will be accepted through the last day of June. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Open my eyes that I may see all others people equally. Open my
I remember walking into the building after using the bell to ring for entry and telling the person at the desk I was there to meet with the person who oversaw volunteers. As I was waiting for her to arrive, staff was rolling one of the residents past, awkwardly seated in their chair, arms at weird angles. Their body was smaller than an average adult's. This was the first glimpse of how I would be spending one whole day, 8 hours per week for the school year. Part of my first year of seminary was immersion in a nonprofit in the community, a nonprofit of our choosing. I had chosen Hattie Larlum and was volunteering at their main location, the Center for Children with Disabilities, although it was a center for both children and adults. About 130 people of all ages receive care, support, and love, and live there. The organization is named after Hattie Larlum, a nurse whose home was on the adjacent property. In her career, she became frustrated with the lack of support for children with disabilities, especially those with developmental disabilities. She and her family watched as a neighbor's family struggled to care for their child who had hydrocephalus, and the Larlum family decided to take in the child and provide her support and proper care. Nurse Hattie's reputation quickly grew, and people were stopping by to get help with their children or literally dropping them off at her home to receive care. In less than 2 years, she had at one point 10 children with developmental disabilities living in her 3-bedroom home, apart from her own family, with more than 100 more children on the waiting list. More was needed. The Hattie Larlum Foundation was created and a facility where 50 children could live was built. The organization continued to grow throughout her life and after, serving people with disabilities at the center as well as in the community, with locations offering baked goods, pet daycare, adult day support and recreation, and other opportunities. In the beginning, I wasn't sure what to expect. Everyone who lives there has severe developmental disabilities, both physical and mental. I worked with adults who were broken up into different groups and provided care and support by staff. I was assigned to one group and learned quickly that although these folks were severely disabled, they experienced and enjoyed life, loved to laugh and joke, and had a beautiful perspective on the world. They were included in all activities as best as they could to their ability, even if that meant mostly watching. Everything from art to baking and play and service. Through some enrichment grants, staff were hired to do one-on-one activities with residents, including music, painting, some of which hung on the walls of the facility and were entered into art shows, photography, and even sculpture. Photography was facilitated with the use of iPads, which gave residents more control and ability to touch the screen to take a picture. The teachers told me how amazed they always were by their charges, one time telling me that they were taking one resident from class back to their living pod, and the resident had an iPad. It was Christmas time, and the pictures the resident snapped included a beautiful one of the star at the very top of the Christmas tree. My time at Hattie Larlum taught me many things, that quiet and watching it carefully would teach me much, that our bodies are far more fragile than we realize, that humans are amazing. And every time we underestimate ourselves, it is only a failure of our imagination, that we should live with joy and love and celebration every possible moment. It also taught me about how ridiculous Medicare and Medicaid can be, the limited resources and poverty of many of those providing hands-on care for our most vulnerable. And that while imagination is alive, skill development may not be in the same way. These sketches I've made are probably a bit of what we think about when we think of disability. We think of people who use wheelchairs and scooters to get around, maybe crutches or other assistive devices. Some of this may be because the symbol for disability has been a person in a wheelchair. And some of it is because people who use wheelchairs and scooters and other assistive devices are visibly disabled. However, in the 2010 census, 19% of the population, 1 in 5 people, self-identified as having at least one disability, using a broad definition of the term, with more than half of them recording that their disability is severe. I can't give you figures from the 2020 census because no questions directly related to disability were asked. It is unclear if this is a fully accurate portrait of the number of disabled Americans, but the statistics were similar to a previous survey that had been done 2 years before. Disability covers a spectrum of lived experiences, including blindness and vision loss, deafness and hearing loss, amputations, developmental delays, neurodivergence, acquired disorders, everything that is categorized as mental illness, trauma, and dementia, cerebral palsy, genetic disorders, consequences of strokes, and so many more. Many disabilities are not visible, and we don't know that people have them unless they tell us. My first experiences of leaning into my identity as a disabled person were when I herniated a disc in my lower back and was on bed rest for several months, hoping to avoid surgery, which I still had. And despite other health events that occurred, for me, my experience of my disability was largely a temporary one. Things have changed in such a way that identifying as a disabled person has become a more active part of my self-identity. Ableism is something that Americans writ large struggle with understanding and providing for. We as a society tend to continue to assign disability as some kind of moral failure or punishment instead of just one of many ways to be human. Every way that we live in our bodies is the right way. Every way we take care of our bodies is the best way. Every body is good and whole and holy. We struggle with disability because of fear, I suppose. Fear of losing abilities we've had, fear of the limitations and losses they will bring to our lives, fear of how we will be treated, talked down to, treated as unworthy of love and respect, treated as disposable and expendable, up to and including abuse and death, which are more common than we might realize, either by care providers or family members. We are taught to pity people who have disabilities the way our lives are limited in ways that non-disabled lives are not. But those who have privilege, non-disabled body privilege and able-bodied appearing privilege, overlook the truth that eventually odds are good that our own lives will be impacted by disability. Disability is a natural consequence of aging and otherwise a natural part of being in a body. We as a culture maintain these bizarre puritanical beliefs about the need to produce, to labor, to be of value, and I am here to tell you that is trash. Our lives have value regardless of what we are able to make or do. Our lives have value because we are alive. We all deserve to know respect and dignity, love and care. In my chaplaincy work and my own healing, I came to realize how many of us have experienced trauma, including living during this global pandemic. Trauma from abuse, accidents, consequences of substance use disorders, for our identities that have been marginalized or oppressed, and so have squashed our own sense of self, and any other way we may have experienced trauma. As a chaplain, I said over and over again that if we were not practicing trauma-informed care, we were causing harm. People who have been admitted to the ICU are prone to developing PTSD and anxiety, for example, trauma induced from possibly an acute illness. Anxiety and depression often follow for those who have experienced a stroke. And that's just the perspective from being in a hospital, let alone all the other ways that we are exposed to trauma in the world. Watching the evening news itself is sometimes enough. If we aren't practicing trauma-informed care, we are causing harm. Of course, this is a church community and not one of professionals who should be learning about trauma-informed care. But as a church community wanting to grow and be supportive of and relational with marginalized communities, we would do well to learn to practice trauma-informed principles, which are safety, trustworthiness and transparency, peer support, collaboration and mutuality, empowerment, voice and choice, and cultural, historical, and gender awareness. And any work that doesn't take into account accessibility fails before it even begins. As poet Laura Hershey points out in her work, our language too often carries damaging words and ideas, sometimes because of the way our language gets codified into the world and the ways we aren't taught to notice how inaccessible life has been made for those with disabilities. It doesn't have to be this way, but the focus on the bottom line drives cheapness and minimal effort over inclusion and flexibility. The way that citizens weren't able to physically access the government representatives before the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The same way that our flagship campaign was for a long while, and despite protests from disabled UUs, standing on the side of love. For a campaign that was meant to be inclusive, that slogan completely missed the mark. We might say standing is a metaphor. So is man for humans, And we changed that language, didn't we? We even went so far as to change men and women to the ever audacious people, to make sure that people of all genders were included. And it had the amazing effect of also including people of all ages. Because that's what happens when we become more inclusive, when we become more expansive in our thinking and our language. We make space for more people to be present as their whole selves. For standing on the side of love, it took intense and repeated discussion and the composer changing the words of the song before the slogan was amended to side with love, which, side note, I don't especially care for either. I can assure you that we have yet so much work to do to undo ableism, which is part and parcel of capitalism and white supremacy. My colleague, the Reverend Teresa Inez Soto, wrote these words in 2014. The disabled body is a prophetic body. It calls beloved community to account for a past in which the good news has only been for those with the right abilities, the acceptable bodies. And still, the disabled body cannot be hidden or silenced, though it may not audibly speak. The disabled body bridges time to a future in which belonging and contribution are a natural function of inclusion as a core value and spiritual practice of beloved community. The prophecy of the disabled body is this indictment and this promise. To what does it call us? We are called to dream bigger, wilder, bolder dreams, to truly invite all people to share community, to honor and celebrate each life for the miracle it is, to find joy in our being and our being together, because we need each other, and we all need all of us to make it.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every grade and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep within, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our
closing words come from Jean Harrison Newyar. She has written in The Gift of Faith, "In the lore of ancient China, there is a story of a philosopher who was asked, 'Where is the road called hope?' He replied, 'It does not exist, but as people move forward upon it, it comes into being.' I invite you to continue moving forward on this ever widening, ever increasingly accessible road called hope with me."
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
I hope that you found meaning in today's service. Again, I invite you to consider joining us sometime on Sunday morning when we gather for worship as a community. The service starts at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom. You are also welcome to drop into our Zoom room coffee hour any Sunday at 11:30 for friendly conversation. Please refer to our website for more information on how to connect with us on Zoom. If you use the Connect Online button, it will take you directly to any of our activities. We look forward to meeting you.